Okay, so we're going to continue into week 15, and I'm going to attempt to split this colony into 2 colonies and introduce a queen. So I have a queen that I just picked up from an apiary nearby. She's in a cage. I'll bring her outside later. I don't want to bring her out just yet, but she's ready and waiting to go into a new colony. So what we're going to try to do is kind of an advanced maneuver here. I have a bunch of notes that I'm going to try to go through to do this right, but by no means am I an expert. So I'm sure people watching this might question what I'm doing or think my methods are not correct, but I'm taking a combination of all the different advice that I've been given or have found through online research to try to give my hives the best chance of survival and a good split. I think they're ready for a split. I think there are enough bees there, and I just really don't want them to swarm. I really don't want that to happen, so I'm going to try to split them today. And so I'm going to try to take some frames out of this box and this box, most likely. I do need to find the queen to make sure I don't put this queen into that box. Obviously, I don't want to have 2 queens in there, so I'm going to try to get this queen to stay in here, find her like I did yesterday. She was in frame 3 of this middle deep. So I'll look around there again. Hopefully I can find her and make sure that I do not transfer her into that box. That box is empty right now, and I will transfer 10 frames, a mixture of brood and some honey and pollen from a combination of these 2 boxes. I can't take them all out of this one because there's no brood in there. All the brood is pretty much in here. I'm expecting some in the bottom as well. I didn't inspect that yesterday, so I don't know the status. So I may have to look in there as well, especially if I'm running out of frames to give over here. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. I probably won't do a lot of commentary because there's going to be a whole lot of shuffling of boxes, and I'll probably just have to come back with a summary of how things turned out and go from there. So I will get ready and wish me luck. All right, so just a quick status update. I've gone through the top deep, didn't find a queen. There will be some frames that I take out of there, mostly the ones on the outside, the honey frames, and some of the drone frames, maybe 2 of them. And then, so now I'm gonna go through the next box and see if I can find the queen there before I move forward. Okay, second status update is I have transferred 10 frames into that box, combination of frames from the middle and the top. I looked and looked and looked for the queen. There's no queen in either of those boxes, so I'm pretty confident she's not in that box. So now I'm going to go through the bottom box, which I didn't look through yesterday, and see if I can find the queen. Hopefully I can find her. That would be great. If not, we'll have to take our chances and go from there. But so far, we're doing all right. We have our queen. All right, finished in just under an hour, and we have this box. Has 10 frames in it that we took from the middle and the top. Middle and top definitely seem to be the right ones to pick. The bottom deep is just filled in with fresh eggs, so I wanted a mixture of eggs and larvae and closed brood, capped brood, which I was able to get out of the second and the third deep. The bottom one would not have been a good candidate. It would just have been eggs, which would take too long for them to emerge out to help the new queen get situated. Good news is, though, because there's a lot of eggs down there, I found the queen, I think on frame 3 or 4 on the bottom. So that's great. So we have 1 queen here. The next is I will probably, it's probably about 6 o'clock at this point, maybe. What I'm going to do is let them chill out for another hour or so, and then introduce the queen. What will happen, or what the expectation is that they will realize they are queenless, and if I wait just a little while for them to realize that, when I add the new queen in, they would be less prone to want to attack her. So some people say you can do it immediately. Some people wait a day, and then some people say don't wait a day, because then they would want to replace the queen with one of their own, and we don't want that to happen. So I think the general consensus I'm taking is 1 to 2 hours after having put these bees in there, I will introduce the queen in a cage, and what will happen is the bees will start to eat the candy that is essentially a cork on the cage, and that will slowly get them introduced to her, so they won't kill her. And hopefully in about a week's time is when I will check this. I'll give them a full week to release her from that cage and see, hopefully by then, that she's already started laying her own eggs. So it might be a little difficult. Well, actually, we shouldn't be. So if I wait a full week, any of the eggs that are in there now will have turned into larvae and then get capped. Whereas if I go back in 7 days from now, so if I check back next Tuesday, anything that was an egg here would have advanced. So if I see eggs in 7 days, that would mean that she laid them, and not, they weren't eggs that we transferred from this hive. So that pretty much wraps it up for, so that's this week 15 and a half, I guess. Just kind of a supplement to my first video where I was just doing a general inspection, but pretty excited. And oh yeah, so I will check back in a few minutes, or I will check back in about an hour and introduce the queen, and maybe I'll take a video of that for you to see as well. So I will be back. So it's very interesting. As soon as I put her in there, the sound of the bees here just completely changed. I wish I had the camera closer when I did it, but they were barely doing anything. And as soon as I placed her down, the tone just completely changed. And so what I'm looking for now is, looking at that cage, look how they're hanging on that cage. They smell her in there. So I get a really good angle. And what I'm looking to make sure they're doing is that they're putting their faces in there and not so much their behinds. So they're not trying to sting her, they're trying to feed her. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm gonna grab my gloves because I wanted to see if I can brush them aside. But that's got to be one of the most amazing things that I've seen thus far. Literally, they were absolutely dead quiet, and as soon as I put her down, just the hum changed completely. They just, I don't know, these things fascinate me, you know. So let me just grab my gloves because I don't want to get stung in the hand today. Had enough of that. Okay. So I just want to see that I can brush these girls aside. And if they were being aggressive, I wouldn't be able to do just what you just saw there. And I can tell, I'm looking at them, I really don't see them putting their stingers up against the cage. They're really just trying to feed her. They'll already start trying to take that candy. Actually, you can see right there. Look at their tongues out. They're trying to break into that candy plug. It shouldn't take very long for them to do that. Maybe a couple of days. But like I said, I'll come back in about a week. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and set this camera up. I think these girls are happy to see the new queen. So I will go ahead and install her. All right, just one final check. Just do a quick brush. They're easily brushed aside. I think they're happy to see our little girl here. Candy looks good and soft. So let's go ahead and stick her right there for a second. I just need to make a little bit of room to get this cage in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess let's put her on the southern side. Right here in the middle. Actually, there's a dead center, duh. I try to stick it right in there. All right, so I just broke my camera mount, so I'm gonna have to do this the manual way, and you guys are gonna come along for the ride. So I've got my frames pushed apart. Make a nice space in the middle here. We're just gonna take our cage, stick it right about there, and push these back together. All right, so we've got the cage right there. Candy plug up. I'll sink it a little bit further. I just want to make sure that I got enough spacing here. Let's go ahead and sink it right in there. Okay. So there's plenty of wax on these frames, so that shouldn't go anywhere. Give it one last squeeze. All right, so you can see those girls are starting to work on that candy plug. I suppose you shouldn't take them too long to eat it away. All right, so a final summary. We have a queen in this hive again. And yeah, so hearing that hive respond to her being introduced was pretty awesome. So I hope that got caught on video. I'm not sure if it did, but it was pretty cool to experience. So wish me luck. I'm gonna put this back together and check on it in a week. Hopefully that candy plug that you just saw is eaten away and the queen is released and laying her new eggs. Cross our fingers. See you next time. Bye.